I've worked for myself since I was 19, worked for myself. I was a professional fighter for 17 years, so it's slightly different, but it's still, I had this discussion a few times recently. Now you're an entrepreneur post-fighting, how do you feel about it? I was like, no. I was an entrepreneur before I was a fighter, and fighting was a part of my entrepreneurial journey. Again, recalibrating my brain and going back and looking at my past and maybe changing it a little bit, maybe lying to myself a little bit, whatever it's going to be to formulate this thing, because then it's not I'm doing something brand new and I'm becoming an entrepreneur and there's no challenge with it. I've been doing it my whole life. It's easy. It's what I do. I found fighting and I excelled in that. Now I'm going to excel in this. That's kind of how I looked at it. But I think when I started out at 19, 18, and I was working marketing in London, and I used to get the train there, train back, like soulless. It was horrible. I think a lot of people listening to this will understand what that's like. And I think trying to find what you want to do is an extremely difficult thing. And I think everyone has that fear that they're going to quit their job, they're going to lose all their savings, they're going to be broke, and they're going to be a loser. But me personally, my belief, I would prefer to chase what I want to do, be broke and become a loser, than to never do it ever. And I think that's the big difference. I'm super fortunate because my dad was an entrepreneur. Like, he worked for himself. He had his own businesses. He was a bit of a go-getter, whatever. He was a photographer, but he did his own thing. So I had kind of like a North Star to follow. Like, my dad was self-employed. I could ask him any questions about banking and all the complicated things that you have to do. You didn't have that. My wife didn't have that. Her dad worked in a newspaper. Mum worked in Tesco's, something like that. So it's like, for her to go off and try and do something on her own it was impossible. It was so difficult for her. She did some makeup thing, but she went off and did that, and it's extremely challenging. So for you to do that and then become the entrepreneur that you are, like, that challenge and that leap is huge. But if you never took that leap, you would just be behind a desk, in London or wherever you were, Manchester, I don't know where you were doing.
London.
In London, working in London, getting on the train every day. You might have some money, but I think when you make some money, you also realize how unimportant money is and how all the other factors of your life are so much more important.
When you're lying to yourself, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. It's like you're not being... Your soul, your spirit knows when you're lying to yourself. And it's just like you can't hide from yourself. You know when you're lying to yourself, and it's the worst feeling in the world, to be honest, because you're doing it every single day, and you know you're doing it. You can see yourself doing it, but you're too scared to cut the cord because of all these fears that you've got and living in a lack mentality where you think what you're really saying is, when you're doing that, I don't believe in myself enough. I'm not betting on myself enough. But if you don't have the courage in you, who?
I think there is like, if you don't believe in yourself enough to take the leap to do something that you want to do with your life, then no one else is going to believe in you. Like, I had a separate journey, and I obviously did the same very similar thing. I gave up that marketing job that I was just talking about to sleep on the floor to become a fighter. And for 2-3 years when I was sleeping on the floor, I was a loser. People thought I was insane. Like, they were like, what are you doing? You had a cushy job in London, marketing.
That's what my friend said as well. You haven't got anything lined up. What are you doing?
I mean, I was chasing a passion. So I went to fighting, and that was my passion. You were a bit crazy, like, you're going off and not knowing what you were going to do with your life, but you worked it out. But I feel like, I always said, like, I prefer to be a broke guitarist, like, with the dream of becoming a rock star, and actually on the street busking to try and become a rock star than working a job. Like, I think if you have that vision and you know what you want to do, that is what you should do with your life, because that's so rare. For me now, the more I live and the more people that I meet, it's so rare to meet people that really know what they want to do with their lives. They're like me, fighting, boom, I want it, I'm going to go after it, all in. Like I said, quit my job, slept on the floor for a couple of years and became a fighter. And I think it is inevitable that you are going to get that thing. That's what I'm trying to get to the point. Like, if you really, truly believe in yourself and you have the backing and you truly believe in yourself and you work as hard as you can physically work, it is impossible to fail. You're told that you'll fail. You're told that it'll be tough. You're told that you have no money, but money doesn't mean anything. You sleep on the floor, work as hard as you can, just go for it, and eventually, however long it takes, you will achieve what you want to achieve, which is what you did. And it, like you said, it took you a year to even make it your first bit of money and see your savings go down. Your friends telling you you're an idiot, you should have kept what do you think made you have the resilience or the mentality to do that?
Great question. So, a couple of things. First of all, you said most people don't know what they want to do with their lives, right? And I think it's such a good point, because I remember in my 20s, I didn't spend hardly any time thinking about what I really wanted from life, because you know what? I don't think that I had the belief or the ability to even conceive that I could do whatever I wanted with my life, that I had the mental faculties and I had the ability, which anyone does, to go after what I really wanted in life. I don't really recall in my early 20s ever sitting down and thinking, what would I really love to do? How would I really love my life to be? I do that all the time now. Like, what would I love to do? And I know that I could do it because I've done it before. But when you've not done anything like that, and it's a big leap of faith, it's like, and you get all this, the inner critic comes in and says, who are you? What do you think you're, blah, blah, blah. Right? So I think that's the first thing, is like having clarity and actually sitting down. I remember just like being so busy in my day-to-day life, which 99% of people probably watching this are. It's like kids, like mortgage, work, commute. I haven't got any time to think for myself. But if you don't carve the time out to think for yourself and think critically about what I really want, you'll spend half your life thinking, I don't really know what I want. But the reality is you haven't really sat down and thought about it, right? So I think that anyone, if they actually sit down and think what it is they really want, they can have that clarity. But you can't have the courage of conviction if you don't have the clarity. I think when you have that clarity, it's like, I know what I want. And it's much, even though it's not easy to summon the courage to go after what you really want, it's much easier when you have something to go after, because you're like, okay, I'm going to go after that. I might not know how to get it, but I know that's the thing that I want. And I think that people don't have the courage, summon the courage, because they don't have the clarity of what it is that they really want. And for me, what kept me going was that my dream was to live on a laptop and travel around the world. That was my dream. I was like, I cannot go back. Like, looking back, that was like a bit of a lack mentality, to be honest. The more positive way to look at it would be, I'm creating this dream life for myself, and that's going to keep me going. And to be honest, that's an infinite form of energy and motivation. It's always going to keep you inspired. But my motivator at the time, because I didn't know any better, I'm fucking not going back to working in a bank, to getting on the train every day. And that kept me going for long enough to maintain the momentum, because I really hated the idea of being told what to do by someone I didn't like or didn't respect, or being in a job I didn't like. To be honest, my colleagues were really nice and everything was fine. That's like the worst, most dangerous place to be in, where everything's just comfortable and it's okay.